The Robinson-Adamson House, also known as the Grange, is the home of the organization Heritage Mississauga. The building at 1921 Dundas Street West is believed to have been the home of Sir John Beverley Robinson, the Chief Justice of Upper Canada in the first quarter of the 19th century. And with looking back at history seems to come a ghost or two. So Jamie, thank you for having us here.
Thank you for including us in this. We're very excited.
Oh, how could I not include you with so much going on here? Now tell me a little bit about what your role is with Heritage Mississauga.
Executive Director for Heritage Mississauga, so basically the administration of the charity.
And I hear you have a little helper.
When we moved into the building, we were told that there was a gentleman that they'd called Sam that did all kinds of fun and mischievous things like flicking off computers and turning lights off and moving things. And so we kind of were aware that there might be some sort of a situation here, but we weren't focused on it in any way, shape, or form until the day we moved in, and we found that when I went upstairs to put another box upstairs, the doors were locked and we hadn't locked them. And that's an incident that's happened a couple of times. We have another door in the basement where we store a number of display items and collectible items and collections and stuff like that. And that particular door, for me, locks when I'm down there. And I know that I didn't lock it. I know that I checked it. So we've had a couple of those kinds of incidences. And all over the building, you'll smell tobacco and pipe smoke. And no one in the building smokes. So there's this sudden whiff of that lovely cherry old-fashioned pipe smoke.
Students working with Heritage Mississauga have also reported hearing two elderly women having a chat while rocking in rocking chairs. There are no rocking chairs in the Grange.
We've had one gentleman who has a cat that follows him around the house and actually meows and actually rubs up against him, but there's no cat in this building.
So we're talking about a ghost cat?
Whenever an animal comes in, like a dog has come in with a guest or a visitor, they'll go to the bottom of the stairs and look up to the second floor and whimper, as if there's something there. And that's kind of a tell sign. You know, dogs have a different kind of sense of what's what's in the spiritual world, and that's sort of a telltale sign.
That gave me the, you know, that at the back of your neck shiver?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Perhaps the most startling of the occurrences is the fall of heavy footsteps at precisely the same time at night.
It was about 9 o'clock, so it should have been the time when we were closing. We weren't quite ready yet, and there was a strong footfall walking up and down the hallway. And it sounded like a man's heavy footfall. So I thought, oh, there's someone up here. So I came up and there was no one here. You know, our door has a chime on it so that when it does open, we know that someone's in the building. So I just thought nothing of it, went back down, and immediately it happened again. And I said, okay, they want us to go home. It's time to get out of here. Let's close the meeting up. The next week, we had another group in the building, and at 9 o'clock, again, they heard the same footfall. And they came up to check it, and there was no one here. And it's sort of, again, that 9 o'clock p.m., it's time to go home.
And although Jamie and the staff of Heritage Mississauga are comfortable with the idea of sharing their space with spirits, they did receive a warning from the psychic who took part in the book, Haunted Mississauga.
He could feel that there were two spirits, one in the basement, and that sort of answers the question for me, what's going on with the locking of the collections room. So when they did the restoration and they lifted the house and put a full basement, it became a room. So it goes to reason that if there's a maintenance man or a caretaker, and this is how he described this spirit, that particular one would have been downstairs taking care of putting rakes and whatever in the basement. The other spirit, however, has a little bit of an issue. Upstairs, this spirit is supposed to be up in the second floor and has an issue with us moving things around. The spirit doesn't like that. One of our staff members had moved a number of items upstairs to get ready to put other things there, and had taken a bag of t-shirts and moved it to the other side of the room. But when she went back up, it was back where it was. And she swore that she'd moved them. She knew she'd moved them because it was in the way. So we had an example of that just happened to us before we spoke with this gentleman. He had never been here. He hadn't had a chance to come into this building. And so some of those things sort of gave us some insight as to who we have here. One of the things he said was, don't name him. Don't identify him.
Why?
It changes the spirit's idea about who you are. You're too familiar. Just let the spirit do what the spirit wants to do, and it won't become malicious, it won't become angry.
Coming up on Ghosts of Mississauga, who or what can be heard walking about the upper level of the Grange when the building is empty?
What came to mind was Dr. Beaumont Dixie, who owned this house, possibly used the summer kitchen as a surgery, as a doctor's office.